So it will be, this will be recorded and therefore will be sent to you guys that you can use it at a later stage, or at least fast forward and show the guys and so on and so forth, that at some stage of the you know, whatever you need to part of that training, you can actually show somebody else. Yeah, so I need to just do some homework before. So before I start, I just want to have a disclaimer. Everything I'm about to share today is the information I've put together. So the opinions, views, and information I am sharing, okay, is mine and not necessarily the opinion, views, and information of Seeley International. So please be aware of that. It's my information I've put together and so on. So it's not necessarily Seeley International's information and views and opinions. As I pointed out, it is recorded. And there will be questions and answers, and I will be muting everybody because of the background noises in between. But that's about it, and then we can start. Okay. There we go. Okay. John, I'm going to mute your video as well. For now. Hi, Richard. Welcome all the way from Namibia. We have already basically started, so we will just carry on with that, and I will just mute your video so because it is a distraction. We will change it later on. Okay, so I'm going to share a presentation now. You can chat to me, by the way. You can, in your presentation, you can actually send a chat. You'll see it says chat 1, chat 2, whatever. You can share to somebody individually, or you can share to me directly. Okay, Richard, I'm just... Okay, let's start. I'm going to share something, a bit of a presentation quickly. All right, somebody just answer, anybody, doesn't matter. Steve, can you see that screen, Seeley International Online Training? Cool. You can see it. Steve? Paul, can you see it? Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. So this is the second online training we're doing in February 2019. And we're just going to be discussing very quickly the new coolers, plus also the controllers and so on, and some other few points that we have. So Seeley International has a complete range of climate control solutions, and we have different coolers, as you know, and gas heaters, climate wizards, the RPB coolers, the large units, and a few other products also in Australia that they have that relate to climate control solutions. The products that we're going to be talking about today, just mute everybody here, sorry. Is the CPQ, TVQ, TVQI, the Icon, EXQ, EXS, the LPQI, the EA, and the RPB coolers. The main ones are going to be the new versions with the new Magic Q range of coolers. The RPB range, there's been a bit of a call to start using them again. There has been a few, actually 3 have just gone to Namibia. And there's a few other quotes that we're looking at as well at the same time. So those are available. They are on order basis. So please be aware of that. That's not an X stock, although we do have 1 unit in stock at the moment, the RPB 1500. The Cool Air units, the CPQ 700 and 1100, those are the airflows, kilowatt capacities, and so on. you can now, as we know, the control options are the Magic Touch controller and the Magic Cool control for the basic units. You can either have an option for either one of those controllers, which I'll go into more detail a bit later on. So for all the Q range coolers, you can have, as per that picture, control options, Magic Cool control or Magic Touch controller. Some have benefits, some better than the other. My personal opinion is I think Magic Touch control is the one to use in most cases. Okay, we'll get into that now. The TVQ 550, same thing. That's still part of the range, and the airflows, kilowatt capacities, and so on takes place of the old TVA 550. The TVQ i550 inverter motor unit, as you'll notice that the airflow at 80 pascals is slightly bit more than the TVQs, and also has the inverter and the super stealth fan. And of course the control options are the same. The Icon 170 and 210 are available in the Icon range, and the airflows and kilowatt capacities, and again the control options. The EXS 220 is the, let's call it the big daddy of the residential, especially units. 15.1 kilowatts, similar airflow to the Icon, or same airflow as the Icon 210, and of course the different control options. I just want to point out that the EXS 220 comes standard with an external sensor, which gives you a slightly better control for your residential house situation, and I'll show you some information on that now. However, the external sensor will not work on using the Magic Cool control. You need the Magic Touch control for that. The new LPQ i350 and LPQ i550, different airflows and the different kilowatt capacities. They do standard colors in this country are slate gray and beige. The terracotta will be available on order. We don't have it as a standard color because of the amount of red coolers or terracotta coolers we have sold in the past. Again, it has the inverter motor and the super stealth fan. It has a new weather seal design, and it's low profile onto the roof, as per brochures that you can get from us, you'll see. And again, control options, Magic Cool or Magic Touch. The different options of controls basically we have available in the Seeley package is of course the Magic Touch control, this one here, the Magic Cool control. We also have BMS controls where a customer can link their BMS building management systems to these parts that can then control the coolers from there. So you can have a PLC or a laptop kind of thing controlling the coolers using BMS packages. And then we have the standard, the basic control of on-off, cooling on-off, and variable speed. These are Clipsal switches, which you can buy. Basically, those two there are off-the-counter switches. So for spares and that kind of thing, you can get from Clipsal. We also have what they call a damper delay module control, which is specifically for when you have heaters, coolers, and so on, and you're having one duct and so on and so forth. So just explaining the basic price list of the cooler module. You'll notice that the coolers are in different ranges, from the EXS all the way down to the Icon 170, 210, the LPQ i350 and 550, the TVQ i550 and the TVQ 550, CPQ 700 and CPQ 1100. Those are the suggested retail prices. Of course, the discounts apply to each individual distributorship and dealership. The wall control, the different wall controls, the basic ones, controls we recommend are using for those coolers are either the Magic Touch or the two Magic Cool controls, either Breeze Air or Cool Air. Please note that you do need to make sure that when you order coolers, you need to make sure that you actually get the mat you purchase, or if you've got, make sure that you've got a controller for that cooler. You can't, you're not going to be able to get the actual, the controller is not going to be in the cooler, put it that way. There'll be, everything else will be inside the cooler, but the actual cooler, the control itself will be in a separate box separately. And so as an example, in the case of where you're linking coolers, you only need one Magic Touch controller and so on, which I'll explain now. So that price list that you see there on the screen is the price list that you guys can use. But you need to negotiate with your client which controller they want to, or of course the one that you suggest for your client. And those are the that you need to make sure that you order or have in stock when you are purchasing the coolers from Seeley. The new control boxes. So you may have noticed, some of you guys have used it. We used to have a link module on the controllers, these three down here on the right. You'll see there used to be a link module. So you have the Magic Touch control linking to the link module to the cooler, link module, cooler, link module, cooler. Now they've changed that and they've put RJ12 connector blocks in the CPMDs of all the coolers. So the icon unit over here, the TPQI, LPQI coolers, and the CPQ, TPQs on the right. And they have two blocks. One is for connecting to a controller, and the other one is to link it either to a sensor or to another cooler. And you must make sure that that is installed correctly in the correct manner as per the instructions that are in the manual that you need to read. That is on the in the cooler that you get. So the basic installation, you can go up to 40 meters now with the normal 6-core cable on the single cooler like that, with a Magic Touch control to the evaporative cooler. And then you can, of course, link a sensor with a Magic Touch link. Or if you have only one cooler, you can actually just use the double connector blocks that's in the cooler itself. So there, that's again the same basic. You can go right up to, in fact, over 40 meters with a normal control without any backlight on, not the Magic Touch control. So you can have other installations where you have coolers and heaters together. So you have different applications where you can link different things together, which you can get into another in depth in another training. As an example, you can have now with they have a heater with a cooler linked together and no link module involved. You just have the connector blocks as per this drawing over here, or this picture over here. So there's no link module required for that. And again, the same way around. The previous one, the previous one, you'll notice that it went first to the heater, the controller, and then it went to the cooler. The next one goes to the cooler, and then it goes to the heater. So you can either have it on different variations, but no link module required. In the case of BMS interfaces, you don't need a Magic Touch control. You can use the customer's BMS connection, and you can go, as an example, 100 meters from the BMS to the cooler. And the customer's BMS will actually control the coolers, sometimes individually, depending on your setup. And of course, cost and what the customer can afford. Again, the same thing with the master mode BMS control interface. Different variations of that. As you'll notice, this one, in this case, you've got a group control BMS linked to a link module, and you also have your Magic Touch. This can then, in the case you don't really need these link modules anymore, because that could go directly into the cooler and link each cooler individually like that. The Magic Touch switch plate control, you can use it in some cases where you need to have a very long connection and you want a basic control for, let's say, a factory or something like that. You don't want all fancy stuff. You just switch on and off, cooling on and off, and variable speed, and that's it. And that can go up to 100 meters of 6-core cable. And also no external power supply required, meaning, as you know, the controllers, the Magic Cool and the Magic Touch control, they need, in a sense, the power from one of the first master cooler or the cooler itself, a 5-volt charge. So just again, some of the accessories: Magic Touch, Magic Cool, sensors, and of course the link modules if necessary. There again, this has been discussed in the past, and I cannot unfortunately give you a specific date for this, but we will be bringing in the Wi-Fi connections. I'm hoping for next season. So sort of September, October, I mean, yeah, let's say from September, but we will inform you in the future when this will be happening. And then, of course, the radio frequency unit, what you can use with this radio frequency, the Magic Touch controls will be battery operated, so no cable connection. In tests in Australia, they can go up to about 100 meters away, and you can have 2 controllers as per this picture, one downstairs, one upstairs. Whoever touches the last control, the control last, let's say the bottom floor, will control the cooler from there. Whoever touches the top, the next one, and then so it swaps in between the 2 controls. In the previous Horizon module, we never had that possibility, but this is going to be in the future for, as I said, coming soon. Okay, so some changes that you need to be aware of in the coolers. These are just some of the pictures you can use on your websites and so on. This is the new low profile Braemar LPQI Evolution unit, just a breakdown of that. But what's the difference in the LPQI? So one of the challenges you had with is the solenoid was always on the outside on the normal icons and the TBQs and CPQs. In this case, it will be inside, underneath on the one side of the profile. The new float valve arrangements will be a horizontal float valve arrangement instead of the normal vertical unit. The 12-volt drain for the LPQI, it's a 12-volt drain. I'll explain that now in more detail. And it has a new twin outlet tornado pump basket filter. Okay, so it has an outlet there and an outlet there. I'll show you another picture now in regards to that for the new tanks that have come out on the CPQs and the TVQs. And then, of course, there's a new water distribution system on the cabinet top. So this gets pressurized under high pressure from the pump on both sides. You'll see a picture now. The water flows very easily over the filters. So the spreaders that we normally have, as you know, non-clogging water distribution, although in very hard water, they do need to be cleaned, of course, and brushed out. But in 99% of the time, those don't really clog up. The TBQ, TBQI Cool Air CPQ range, as you know, has the spreader in the tank itself, and it has a header block. The header block is there to spread the water across the filter pack horizontally, and then vertically it'll go down through the filter. On the Braemar LPQI and the on the LPQI, it has a new pressurized water distribution system. It's a very more finite water distribution on the top. So it has separate water distributions across to each section of the filter. And you get proper full pad saturation without header block. So you can actually increase the size of the filter. What we do, we've increased the size of the main filter to get you extra cooling. So you'll see here the difference between the TBQI, TBQ, and CPQ. The difference between the bottom of the header block and the top of the cooler is about 175 millimeters, where on the new Braemar LPQI, it's only 65 millimeters. So basically, we can increase the size of the saturated filter, so giving you extra cooling. So the basic idea of what happened, previously in the past with this system, on the left, it had a pump with one pipe up, and then it distributed it at an angle of about 8 degrees around on all four sides. As you know, it's a very successful spreader system, steep slope channels to allow the water to flow evenly across the filters. The Braemar LPQ Evolution Cooler has a pressurized system with a double outlet basket, same tornado pump, and it pumps it to two sides, as you can see there, and then to the next side on top of the head, the tank top. Okay. So as you can see from that picture, double outlet pump divides the water equally onto the two hoses, and the hose direct the water to the top section through the seal channels that flows around the perimeter of the lid, and pressurize the water exits as stream flow evenly spaced holes. Each stream of water from the lid drops into the small sections of the spreader, which divides the water further. So just one of the confusions, some of the confusion I've had is the drains. We've had where some dealers have actually installed a 12-volt drain. Please note, and I will show you this now, another picture of this, the 12-volt drain and the 24-volt drain on the LCQI and the LPQI, TBQI, CQ is wrong, and the LPQI is the 12-volt drain, super sterile fan, the new Venturi, and of course the inverter motor. So just drain valve comparisons. The top one is a 12-volt DC drain valve, drains the water from the coolers as per normal, as it should, and it only works on TBQI 550 and the new Evolution LPQI Braemar models. You cannot use it on any of the other coolers in our range. The 24-volt drain is the normal original gray drain with the micro switches. And it only works on the CPQ, TPQ, Icon, and the EXS. It doesn't. You can't use it on the TPQI or the LPQI Braemar. Please be aware of that. I have had some dealers that try to put the 24-volt into the 12-volt CPMD. It does not work. It will not work. One has 3 cables. The other has 2 cables anyway. Okay, so just a new tank design and the tornado base filter. The picture on the left is the 2 tornado pumps. They are exactly the same. Same pump, same everything, same impellers. The plugs are the same. On the one that comes in the spares box, it's got a longer cable to fit all the coolers. The one that comes, as an example, in this TBQI, it's a short cable. But if you have to replace it, you can replace it with a long cable anyway. Then it comes, the new base comes with this basket. It has a single flow outlet, but on the LPQI, it will have a double flow outlet. Not confusing, just to show you which way that you need that basket for this base. You'll see this base doesn't have those 2 screw levels that go upwards that you screw this base onto. It has a clip system which just locks the pump directly onto there, as per the picture on the right-hand side here, right bottom. That, I think is a great idea, great system, and just be aware that if you do get this base, then you need to keep that basket, and if you have to replace the pump, then you need to just get the pump as a spare, the base part, the main part of the pump as a spare part. Okay, external sensor. This only, as I pointed out, comes with the EXS 220. It's an added benefit to the client, and what it does, it senses the external temperature at where the cooler is. So let's say it's on the roof, and it gives you a live outdoor ambient temperature reading on the Magic Touch control, and it shows up on the actual controller's little house on top of the screen. External temperature set point to switch off pump when running in cool mode. and then external temperature set point to auto drain. Let me explain those to you. The external temperature set point. So as an example, let's say that you set your internal temperature to be 23 degrees. But your outside temperature is actually getting or gets to 23 degrees. What's the point of having extra cooling? As an example, you don't need the extra cooling, just keep it at 23 degrees. So it'll switch the pump off, saving water, saving power, of course, and therefore a benefit to the customer. The external temperature set point to auto drain. In certain areas where you have freezing temperatures, and especially extreme temperature divisions, what will happen is if it gets to a point where the water starts to freeze, and you can set that temperature. So if the temperature gets to 3 degrees, that's external temperature, it'll automatically drain, switch off the pump, of course. Naturally, your cooler is probably not going to be on anyway, but it'll automatically drain it to auto drain the cooler to get the water away from the pipe and from the pump and all this kind of stuff, as you've seen in certain cases in America where even toilets are freezing up. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It just looks like a very similar size to the normal sensor, but it's a black external box and it goes underneath the cooler. Okay, and yeah, so it just works with a Magic Touch control only and can be linked directly into the CPMD as per this drawing. Okay, just to discuss very quickly configuring up. One of the things I found is where in the multiple cooler situation before where we power up, say 10 coolers. So before powering up, ensure all appliances and components are connected to the network. Where there's only one of each appliance type fitted to the system, ensure all appliances and components are powered. Where there are 2 or more appliances of the same type connected, ensure only the first one is powered up. So an appliance is either a heater or a cooler. A component is an air sensor, zone board, or slave controller. So it's only where you have, let's say, example, multiple coolers. You need to power up the first cooler, then the second, and the Magic Touch control will ask you, then the third, then the fourth, and all the way up to over 100 coolers. So please be aware that when you have a heater and a cooler, as an example, on one Magic Touch control, you must have, okay, we've got 10 minutes left in this presentation, so I need to move on. You must have them both on so that the Magic Touch picks it up. Okay, make sure that you guys have the 2 different, the 4-core cable and the 6-core cable. And yeah, so that's the basic information that we have. I don't know if there's anything specifically that you want to ask. If you want to, let me have a look at the chats here.